She screamed it so loud the birds scattered from the trees. "We'll seize your house by force if we have to," and I remember standing there with my coffee mug halfway to my lips thinking, is this woman seriously threatening to steal my home before sunrise? 3 days into owning my century-old farmhouse, and already my so-called neighbor had turned my porch into a circus stage. My name's Derek Reed. I'm a building inspector, and I bought this old farmhouse in the East Texas Valley specifically because it sits outside the Willowbrook HOA boundaries. The mailbox even has a bright county sticker that says Non-HOA Homestead. That was the point. I wanted peace, privacy, and no one telling me what shade of paint I could use on my shutters. But apparently, Elaine Porter, the HOA president, thought rules stopped where her clipboard ended. She showed up at 6:15 in the morning with 2 inspection squad neighbors in self-printed shirts waving papers like they were holy scripture. Her face was crimson hair frizzed from humidity, and she jabbed a finger toward my front door like she owned the deed. I set my coffee down, pulled out my phone, and hit record. If she wanted to scream about seizing my house by force, I'd let her voice echo in the cloud servers forever. I opened the sealed property binder from my title company right there on the porch. Every page, every exclusion proved my land wasn't part of her suburban fiefdom. She shouted something about banks supporting her. Banks, I almost laughed. That wasn't HOA language, that was desperation. Then, by some divine timing, a county patrol car rolled down my lane. Deputy Aaron Blake stepped out calm but sharp and told her flat, "Ma'am, HOAs have no seizure authority outside recorded declarations." Threats like that fall under Penal Code 22.07. Watching her sputter while he examined her documents was better than caffeine. Her squad started backing away, whispering about checking with the office first. Elaine hissed at me on her way out. "This isn't over. You'll see real authority." And she meant it. 2 days later, I saw her walking door to door with a clipboard, the kind of neighborly smile that hides a knife. From my window, I watched her pitch the elderly couple in the Victorian house. She spread out manila folders pointing toward my farmhouse as if it were a biohazard. When I strolled by, pretending to check my fence line, I caught snippets property values outside investor emergency boundary adjustment. All lies. The kicker, she'd forged county letterheads, created a fake Rural Preservation Commission that didn't even exist. That's when Tom Bennett appeared, county land records specialist notary and a guy obsessed with documentation. He whispered, "That letterhead's wrong. Font's off. Seal's fake." We followed her quietly, noting every fake signature, every misleading phrase. Watching Mrs. Henderson, who just last week praised my restoration work, now sign, Elaine's petition broke something inside me. For the first time, I wondered if I'd made a mistake buying here. Maybe peace and quiet didn't exist anymore. Maybe I was the fool. But Tom wouldn't let me sink into that hole. He laid it out plain. "This isn't just HOA bullying. This is felony forgery. We can prove it." His certainty lit a spark I needed. Elaine must have sensed the petition wasn't enough because the next week, 4 vehicles rumbled into my driveway. 6 people in matching shirts jumped out carrying clipboards measuring gear cones. They spread across my yard like a SWAT raid. Their leader shoved a clipboard in my face. Property safety inspection. Multiple violations reported. I laughed, bitter and sharp. Violations reported by who I'm a building inspector myself. This house is solid. But they weren't inspecting, they were planting. I watched them stick violation markers into the dirt, then dramatically discover them 5 minutes later. Here's the twist: the rural mail carrier pulled up during the whole charade. She leaned out of her truck, whispered, "I saw them put those signs down themselves." My dash cam caught it. Suddenly, their theater became evidence. Deputy Blake arrived mid-performance body cam rolling, asking for credentials. None of them had legitimate licenses. Turns out, Elaine had hired contractors with HOA funds to stage fake safety violations on land the HOA didn't even control. I thought that would be the breaking point, but she still had darker moves. Within days, my phone blew up. Longtime clients called me nervous. "Derek, we heard your license is under investigation." Are you okay? One after another, builders I'd worked with for years told me someone guess who was calling them, spreading rumors that my own farmhouse had failed inspection, that I was unsafe, unreliable. My reputation, my career, was on the line. Sitting in my truck between jobs, I felt a chill I hadn't before. This wasn't just about land, she was coming for my livelihood, and, for a moment, I almost broke. I thought maybe I should pack up, sell out, run. Maybe one farmhouse isn't worth losing everything. But then Jimmy Rodriguez, a contractor friend, called. He had recorded his conversation with Elaine. On tape, she offered him future HOA projects if he dropped me. That wasn't rumor, that was bribery. That snapped me back. I wasn't crazy, I wasn't doomed. She was overreaching into criminal territory, and I had proof. Still, she played her strongest card yet. She hired a high-priced lawyer who marched into court with glossy photos of the staged violations. They filed for an emergency restraining order claiming my property endangered the community. Judge Williams granted it temporarily. Walking out with that order in my hand felt like defeat. All my recordings, all my evidence didn't matter in that moment. For the first time, I thought maybe she'd win by sheer legal muscle. That night, Rebecca Shaw, an accountant friend, dug into the HOA's financials. What she found changed everything. Elaine had siphoned $12,500 from the HOA's emergency reserve to pay that lawyer without board approval. Flat-out misappropriation. Not just harassment, anymore felony theft. The dominoes began to fall. Channel 7 picked up the story, ran a background check, and found Elaine's old conviction from 2018 for embezzling $50,000 from another nonprofit. When the news aired, neighbors I thought I'd lost came to my gate embarrassed, apologizing. The community's sympathy swung overnight. Desperate Elaine texted me, "Let's meet. Noon tomorrow at the Overlook. We can resolve this privately." I alerted the DA's office. They wired me with a recorder positioned investigators nearby. At noon, sharp Elaine showed up in a luxury sedan, sat on a bench with a manila envelope. She pulled out a cashier's check, $25,000. "This represents fair compensation for your inconvenience," she said smoothly. "In exchange, you move quietly, drop your complaints." I stared at the check, heart pounding. It was tempting, sure, but all I saw was desperation dripping off the paper. And then she kept talking. That was her mistake. She admitted fabricating signatures, creating fake HOA members to meet bank ratios, funneling HOA funds into personal expenses, staging violations, bribing contractors. She thought she was negotiating, she was confessing. Every word went straight into the recorder, straight into the DA's hands. When I stood to leave, she tried one last threat. "You have no idea what you've just done. This affects more than you and me. People depend on these arrangements." I walked away, pulse racing, but for once it wasn't fear, it was relief. She'd finally hung herself with her own words. Federal agents moved fast. Wire fraud, mail, fraud, money laundering, commercial bribery, embezzlement. The list of charges stretched longer than my wraparound porch. Her fancy lawyer bailed when the retainer checks bounced after her accounts got frozen. Neighbors replaced the HOA board. Investigators traced her scheme across multiple counties. And me, I still wake up on that porch with my coffee, same farmhouse, same valley. Only difference is now I know firsthand how fast one HOA president can turn into a federal case file. Lesson learned. The louder they scream about authority, the harder they fall when the truth finally speaks.